day before yesterday, I had ended up at the State Board of Education, really kind of a last-minute thing. So just a few days ago, found out, I guess maybe 6 days ago, found out that my legislation, really my signature legislation, the thing I'm most proud of from my time in the legislature here in Texas, that created Celebrate Freedom Week, the whole purpose of which was to get back to basics, to start teaching kids civics again, to actually study the Constitution and the Declaration, not just one time, but every year, so that you spiral that, so that you really embed those principles and do it in such a way that they actually read the founding documents. So they're reading the actual documents, they're reciting the actual words of the Declaration, and so that they're understanding what it means to be an American. I mean, this was 20 years ago that I passed this legislation, but we were already starting to see cultural Marxism seep into our education system. That was the whole purpose of it. At any rate, found out that was on the chopping block, that the State Board of Education was considering changes to it, potentially not going to do it anymore, and which they wouldn't have been able to do by law anyway, because we passed it as literally an education law in Texas, so they have to do it. But believe me, folks, bureaucrats always find ways around the law. They always find ways to get their agenda moved forward. And unfortunately, the left is better at this game than we are. They have been scratching and clawing, being aggressive and going on the offense for 80 years. And unfortunately, we're seeing the result of it. That's the reason the American culture is crumbling. They're getting what they wanted, which is to tear down the institutions, tear down the values and the principles that made America great. And the only way we're going to stop that is if we start playing ball as well. We've got to get off the sidelines, get on the field, and we've got to learn how to play aggressively. Being aggressive does not mean that you have to be rude or hateful or any of those things. It means you play ball. It means you get in there and you're aggressive. I mean, my goodness, I coached a lot of baseball in previous years, and that was a big part of what you had to teach kids to do. You can't be passive when you're up to bat. You've got to be aggressive. You've got to be looking for that pitch that you want. You've got to aggressively go after. You can't sit back and wait until it's almost there to make your decision. And anyway, so I just feel like our side is so passive and so afraid and so timid and so I don't want to offend anybody, and I want to make sure I'm embracing everybody. And they've bought this lie that Christian love means that you never fight, that you never stand up for truth, that Christian love is somehow just petting lambs all day, and they forget that Jesus was not only the lamb but the lion, and that he absolutely was aggressive when necessary. And so if you're going to, what would Jesus do, and you're going to be like Jesus, then, if you're going to do what Jesus said, he said go buy a sword, by the way. If you're going to do what Jesus said and do what Jesus did, it means discernment. It means knowing the right time to speak in love, and knowing the right time to aggressively stand for truth. And I'm really frustrated with our side not having that discernment, not knowing when to step up and be aggressive and when to engage. But at any rate, there were enough mama bears that showed up, not enough papa bears, by the way. All the guys out there, get engaged. Stop sitting on the sidelines. You need to be in this fight with your wife and for your family, and especially when it comes to all this transgender, gender fluidity stuff. I'm so sick and tired of men not stepping up and saying no to this insanity, this anti-biblical, anti-science, anti-biology, hateful, evil ideology that is tearing our kids apart and creating mayhem in our medical community, in our churches, in our education system. Come on, guys, let's stand up and say no to this. Enough is enough. We've let them march this evil across our nation as far as we can handle without the whole thing falling apart. So everybody needs to be standing up. But I'm very thankful for the groups that did stand up. The way this works is pretty simple. It's not complicated. The way it works in Texas, and a lot of other states do this as well. We have a state board of education, and they set what we call the TEKS, the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills, and it's basically the goal. Here's what a diploma in Texas means. If you go through the social studies classes from kindergarten through 12th grade, these are the things that you'll learn. Here's the things you learn at this level and at this level. So the state board sets all of this. It adopts this policy of what will be taught in science and social studies and math and all these things. And every 10 or 12 years, they review those essential knowledge and skills. And they typically just make a few changes, update a few things. And for social studies, that's really what it should be, is just adding the last few years of history, making sure you didn't have anything in there that was inaccurate. And what they attempted to do with this rewrite was come in with, they had all these woke they call them working groups. They were really woke groups with all these PhDs and experts, quote-unquote experts, in gender studies and ethnic studies and all of this insanity. And they wanted these people to be able to modify our social studies standards and insert all of this woke ideology and critical race theory. They're not calling it critical race theory, but if the outcome of the class, if it's all focused on race, if everything's seen through the prism of race, that is critical race theory. That is exactly what they want everybody to do. And so they had these ridiculous rewrites of our social studies courses. And thankfully, Texas Values and some other groups caught on to this. We're watching this and brought it to our attention and got enough. We got a ton of people there, and it was an all-day thing, 12 hours, most of which was testimony from the opposition. And here's where, our side does not play this game well. The other side manipulates that process. And I shouldn't even say manipulate. They work the process. It's there to be worked. And they worked it so well that they almost got it through. And we barely, I think, it was very, very close. In fact, the Democrats walked the vote. What I mean by that is when it came time to actually vote on whether to adopt these social studies woke leftist standards or punt and say, no, we're going to put this off and we're going to redo this whole thing. When it came time to do the actual vote, the leftists walked. They didn't stay in and vote. The Democrats all